I want to call the January 16th, 2025 meeting of the Charter Revision Commission to order. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Of January 9th, 2025.
So
Denise moves that we approve the minutes of the January 9th meeting. Are there any discussion, comments, questions? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 6-0. Let's say 5. 6-0. Okay, now we're going to jump right in on about our February 6th event at the library. And I have confirmed that we can go to 8 o'clock, so we'll go 6 to 8, which will be great. And as we discussed the last time, we've all been working on different drafts of things. So I don't know if we wanted to start in on the drafts, because some of the drafts might lead us to figure out how we're going to do what we're going to
Yeah,
do
that's the agenda minutes.
with the format. Does that make sense? So where would everybody like to start?
Oh, okay.
Where should we start? Should we start on Peter's documents, since it might inform the other things that we do?
Yes.
Sure.
And is it in here twice? Is that what it's?
Yeah, it was so good that we got it twice.
I just want to make sure we don't think there's anything different between the two.
There shouldn't be any difference between the two. I only sent it out once.
Perfect.
I'm not sure what happened after that.
One's like slightly different margins.
Right.
Okay, that's what it is. It's like bigger.
All right, so why don't we start with that one, because I think that might inform the frequently asked questions, and it'll inform what we put in the news release. You know, some of this stuff. So do you want to walk us through it, Peter? Is that the best way to do it?
Sure, happy to. When I sat down to write it, I thought about what was my task, because my task originally was to write something that would be kind of op-ed-ish, but that was going to be to help people understand what we were asking them to vote on, and if it had been a vote in March. And so then I was thinking, well, I'm not really sure exactly what my purpose for the one-pager is, but I remember clearly it's a one-pager, and I think that's good, because that's going to force me to not be overly wordy. I hope that's where it landed. So then what I thought about was what's the essence of this thing? There's going to be an FAQ that's going to be more punchy, and there's going to be something that's going to be a little more hey, everybody, come on in, kind of in spirit. So this is going to be a little longer form and hopefully informative. What should I be trying to accomplish in a page? And so what I did was give a paragraph that just says, this is who we are and what we're up to, big picture. And then a paragraph that speaks specifically to what we're wrestling with RTM. A paragraph that, as neutrally as I could, and I'm ready for some constructive criticism if any of it feels like I'm steering anybody one way or the other. I really honestly was trying not to do that, other than in the third paragraph. Or the fifth paragraph, the third option. But for RTM and OTM, it was meant to be a paragraph that, as neutrally as possible, just described what's going on here. What is it, and what have we heard about it, or what have we discussed about it? Kind of put it in context. For Australian ballot, I attempted to do the same, but I also, I have a recollection from some earlier conversations that we've had that I don't think we ever took a formal vote, but I believe, had a majority of us that were feeling like we want to do one of the two in-person things. We don't want to be just voting a ballot. And so if I'm remembering that correctly, then I think this is appropriately written. If those of you who may feel more positive towards Australian ballot think that I've done something wrong here, I'm also open to having that conversation. But I thought it was important to name it and describe it. And while my personal feelings are opposed to it, I tried not to be opposed to it in the whole essence of this paragraph, but to like have it be in a secondary position to the two in-person options. That was my goal. Was to be fair, but differentiate it. And then the last one is just to kind of a variation on your pitch, just like, so everybody, you know, come on out and join us in this conversation while we wrestle with this. That's what I was trying to accomplish.
Now, are we, before I go through it, this is something, is this something that we can, you know, send as an op-ed, or you think to the former and the comments to really explain stuff? I mean, that's what we have to decide. Do we do that?
I think so. If we all, you know, once we're done working on it tonight, if we all get to a place where it's our one pager and we like what it says and it frames the thing properly,
Yeah.
I think it could be still sent in as an op-ed, even though I didn't really write it with that in mind anymore.
Right.
I also do think what you said is true. I was actually thinking when I was preparing and looking at the things that the others of you prepared, preparing to come in tonight, I was thinking that the news release, you've got good stuff there, and it might be that we borrow some paragraphs from this into the news release also, or just provide a fuller explanation of what that means about.
Yeah, that's why I kept it short, because
Yeah.
we're all going to talk about what we're thinking. Anna, were you listening?
No, Peter answered my question.
I will raise my hand.
Sure.
I will say I do think the Australian ballot paragraph is diminished the way I read it compared to the other options.
Yes.
And so that is achieved. I mean, we would probably take a vote to publish this, so then is that like how diminished we want the voice of the commission to put that out to the public? Because it's obvious, which is fine, which is like, so check mark, goal achieved, you know, and all of that. And I do think, and I am not for an Australian ballot, but there might be people who are.
I think that conclusion that we've come to is not only based on personal beliefs, but based on the feedback we've gotten, which is generally speaking that people like the open debate.
Yeah.
So I think that we could even add that in, that it's our opinion based on the committee's work so far, something like that, to make it clear that this is not just like the six of us. This is even the feedback we've already gotten is that the town wants some
There's
form of
value in coming together in an open setting.
Yeah, and I would say, I think the point's well taken, and so what I'm going to say is my own opinion, but I believe it's also a reasonable summation of what we've heard, other than the couple of times we have heard from a couple of people who prefer the Australian ballot, or at least think we should give it serious consideration.
Yeah.
But in those conversations, the people who have spoken against it, it's not just that it's interactive, like there is some sort of intrinsic value to it being interactive, but specifically the two things that I mentioned, that it gives you the opportunity to arrive at decisions collectively and amend. So there's something in front of you, and you don't have to just say yes or no to the something in front of you. You get a chance to actually work with it.
Instead of the last sentence of the Australian ballot, can we say something like what you just said, Peter? Which is one of the comments that we've heard about Australian ballot is that it provides no opportunity to change anything, or to change, I don't know. I'm not.
I might say that feels way more negative of a side than just to highlight more the benefits of the others, right? Or to stay on the positive side of them. I think then for sake of balance, almost a negative thing needs to be said about like the last sentence for each of the other paragraphs.
Uh-huh.
It would stay a semblance of balance. But also if
Where
it's not,
does that
it
leave
is,
us?
I know, yeah.
I want to be really clear, if I wasn't 10 minutes ago when I gave the summary, that I do recognize that there's this shift to the negative in that last paragraph and that last sentence. And I tried to do it without being like a jerk about it. But because I believe that it represents the majority opinion of the commission, if it doesn't, we should get it out of here. If it does, then the question is it put in the right frame where it's like conveying information without it being, so don't even bring it up. I mean, I'm really trying hard here not to have it say, there's a third option, but we're not considering it because it's inferior. I'm not saying that because I don't think that's where we are.
I think that last sentence is giving our opinion rather than fact. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, because we say in the preliminary
Yeah,
opinion, like
yeah.
the word
Yes.
opinion is there.
And I don't want people, I mean, we know that most of us don't like the option.
Yes.
But, and if anybody asks at the forum, I'm sure we will say that. But to put it in something that's going to be an op-ed, I think.
I would lift that up a little stronger too, that there has already been accusations that we're coming in with a massive agenda on the charter, and this is a massive agenda on the charter, right?
Yeah. I mean, people have come up to me, you know, I had two people, one person at Hanford and one person at Walgreens stop me and say, are you guys trying to get rid of RTM? I mean, just straight up. And I'm saying, no, we're trying to figure out what the best option is. But I think you're right. I think people think we have an agenda.
I would just like to offer another opinion, which is that this is titled Representative Town Meeting versus Open Town Meeting, and I don't think it's discounting it too much to explain that this third option exists, but that it's not being considered in the same way as these other two. And if we have an issue with saying it's the committee's opinion, we could, again, reframe it as the feedback that we have received is that the voters would prefer the engagement and collaboration of one of these other models. And frame it that way.
That's good.
To make it clear that this is not just us saying, you know, forget about Australian ballot. This is us saying we have heard, and the overwhelming feedback is people want the open meeting in some form.
Because that's what the other two was sort of like referenced, because in here in the open town one, you know, some people have expressed concern. You know, it's like other people have said it, not us.
Do we need that title? Representative Town Meeting versus Open Town Meeting? Or can we call it something
What
else?
did we say we were saying?
Um,
And didn't we just say like form of
Yeah,
town meeting or something?
the form of
This is what we
Brattleboro's annual town meeting. And that way we don't highlight, I mean, we don't, and then but I like your language.
And I think that is already in there a little bit in the second sentence, and maybe you just flesh that out a little bit, or just take that last sentence out, like that we're looking at it, but that we're focusing on these others because the feedback, I don't know, it's hard to draft this on the fly out of, but the feedback we've received so far is that the voters would prefer, and then add this engagement and collaboration language into that part.
Yeah, or even, I think you make a good point. I hadn't reread my own piece in preparation for tonight. I read the stuff that the other things that you guys prepared. And I wonder whether the cleaner change here is just to delete the last paragraph,
so.
because it does already. The last sentence, I'm sorry, because the second sentence of that paragraph does already say the same thing.
Yeah.
We're considering that alternative, but focusing primarily on the two interactive meetings because they involve discussion and the potential of amendments.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think that's covered to it. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Would you consider though lifting, or just to emphasize again, lifting back up that engagement and collaboration phrase in one of the sentences? I'm not sure where it might fit, but like, because there is involved discussion among voters and potential amendments, maybe it's comma, increased engagement and or encourages engagement and collaboration, or
You can just say discussion, engagement, and collaboration among the voters. Just add those two words in right there.
Sure. The
Right
third
after
line.
discussion.
Yeah, third line down. Discussion, engagement, and collaboration.
Okay. And thanks to the material that y'all prepared, I got my reminders of 6 p.m. and charter@brattleboro.gov, so I know what to fill the blanks in with.
And I would be curious if we are being very clear that it's Brattleboro in that last paragraph. The CRC is ask all interested Brattleboro
Yes.
residents, like just every
yes.
time there's an opportunity.
I think we should start to Brattleboro's Charter Revision Commission is considering whether to recommend a change. Because if we send,
Yeah,
we don't know what this will be. If we send this to the reformer in the comments, we have no idea if they're going to change the title. So we got to make sure we put.
I mean, it does say the change of Brattleboro's town.
Yeah, the Brattleboro Charter.
Well, I'm saying if say we send this to the reformer in the comments, and they don't put this headline we want, the first thing people are going to read is the Charter Revision Commission and not the Brattleboro. Do you see what I'm talking about? Brattleboro's Charter Revision Commission.
Almost embeds the title, the
Yeah.
headline,
Yeah,
in a place they can't change.
right. Well, they can't, but.
So I think maybe we don't have that representative town meeting versus open town meeting, but
we can submit it without a headline on it.
yeah,
We
that's
could.
what I'm thinking.
If we're going to use it ourselves, we need to think about what we're going to put at the top of it for how,
Exactly,
if we're going to hand it out.
Yeah.
But to submit it to the papers, we don't need that.
Right, yeah.
And to me, yeah, I agree.
And we keep saying, or the form of Brattleboro's annual town meeting, or I don't know how we word that up at the top, but I think the more we keep saying that
how
language,
Brattleboro does town meeting.
how, that's not bad. How Brattleboro,
Something.
Well, I was just trying to think, like, does it ground enough in like how we actually do it? It does. It says the voting, it says caucusing, this sort of thing.
Mhm.
And it
how-
also alludes to potential future. You know, there's sort of the background
Mhm.
and the potential future.
I have one other comment on the text. One of, in the second paragraph, on the third line, I think saying, but a simpler and possibly better solution is playing into the hands of people who think we're trying to do away with RTM. And so I suggest one alternative is to make some changes to RTM, but
What about it has been suggested
but
to
a
make some
another-
changes to RTM? So the first,
Sure. Can I
But
explain?
another solution, just say, take out a simpler and possibly better and just say, but another solution is to switch.
So again, I'm very happy to do whatever we do to it so it's ours. Let me be really clear about that. On this particular one, unlike down in the paragraph below where I knew I was doing something that might touch a nerve or not feel appropriate, and so we were going to need to mess with it, and that's fine. That one there I also wrestled with, but I'd like to explain why I landed where I landed. With due respect to the fact that some people think we have a preconceived outcome in mind, we know we don't. We've been engaging, a couple of times a month, exhaustively with anybody who will come and join us to demonstrate that we're really exploring these things. We really want to hear from people. We're going to hold this event. We're going to probably hold other events. And I decided to use that language. I'm fine to change it. It's our document. It's not my document. But the reason I chose those words in that spot is because the process of modifying RTM will inevitably be a lot more complicated, a lot more challenging, a lot more contentious than the simpler and therefore possibly better alternative of switching to the thing everybody else does. We know what that is. We know how it's different from RTM. Maybe we want to do it, maybe we don't want to do it. But it is, in my opinion, a fact that it's maybe not better, maybe we take that out, but it is a simpler approach to addressing the concerns that have arisen about RTM.
Can I propose, so what if it said a simpler solution may be to switch to open town meeting? Take out that better. Because
Yeah,
it is simpler, that's not our opinion, that is just a fact.
Uh-huh.
And then change is to maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
okay. That takes care of my problem.
Okay, so what a simpler solution may be to switch to open town meeting. Just, yeah, I think that's good.
This is just the lawyer, but I think it should be established by Vermont law.
Establish it in Vermont law.
Established by
In
Vermont law.
by Vermont law, not in Vermont statutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Where are you?
the last sentence of that same paragraph.
Capital L law or no?
No.
No.
Established
Go.
by the
Thank you.
Would you take a question from staff?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Outstanding.
We're analyzing this, Patrick, so.
Peter, I'm a little anxious about the opening paragraph, and the last sentence in the opening paragraph. The part that said, subject to approval by representative town meeting or a townwide vote.
Yeah.
By what mechanism would you see this being adopted by townwide vote?
By a mechanism where if we were to recommend, if the outcome of our work is a recommendation to switch to open town meeting, a concern that we've already heard from the select board is how do we expect RTM to vote on whether or not to switch away from RTM? So I could see it, if that's where we land, I could see the select board possibly grabbing at least that question and maybe our body of work and putting it before the voters rather than having it go through the normal process to RTM.
I'm not entirely sure that that's kosher. So, by the charter, there are 4 different ways in which to change the charter.
Yep.
Right? There's by Charter Revision Commission, which must go to representative town meeting. There is the possibility by which the select board, and I'm not the town attorney, so I'm just speaking like that.
Playing one on TV.
So you and I are on, in the same boat here.
Absolutely.
The select board could, on its own motion, choose to send a charter change to the legislature.
Yes.
Um,
Well, not directly to the legislature, but to the voters.
No, I'm
to the
saying to
legislature.
the legislature. That's,
The select board can send it to the legislature
Yes.
without going to the voters? That's not what I recall from that.
Yeah.
Article 8, Section B, by the select board and the school directors pursuant to, what is the bond, where am I at? I'm sorry. In a manner consistent with 17 VSAs, A, B is by
What page are you on, Patrick?
11, 13.
13.
the select board.
Because it said by the
Yeah,
select board
pursuant to a vote.
So
by the voters
it
of
would
the
be 8B is what you're contemplating.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that it might move forward, the expected way for it to move forward is D, but because of this particular consideration and the concerns that some currently sitting select board members have raised, I could definitely see a scenario where they would grab it and do it as a select board action under B. And,
Because that's what they were talking about doing when
right,
Hannah and I came to the board. They were going to take it and put it their own.
and I think the public should be given notice of that.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote that the way I did, even though I know there's a logical, normal, proper thing that's supposed to be the outcome of our work that goes to RTM, but because that's already been a debated issue, I thought we ought to just name it.
How
And name it
exactly do you think it B works? The select board, we present the charter changes to the select board, and the select board then just votes to put it on a ballot and have a
Yeah.
simply that.
Yeah. I don't think we can know whether we're going to encounter that potential fork in the road or not.
Right.
And so I just thought, I'm not saying anything qualitative about this, just that when we're done, it's going to be subject to approval by the voters in some manner, right? And that could be RTM or it could be townwide vote.
And the reason we wanted it on the, or we were considering asking them to put it on the March ballot is because if there's an election coming right up, it'll make us be able to figure it out. That doesn't preclude them doing a special, vote.
And honestly, actually,
So-
something I hadn't thought about, but it's a place we could land, 6 or 8 months from now when we're done. We might land in the place that says it doesn't feel right to send an open time meeting question to RTM.
Right.
So we might ask the select board to put it before a townwide vote.
Right.
Again, if that's the place that we land
Right.
substantively, which we don't know if we're gonna or not.
Yeah, and that statute that's referenced allows you to hold a special meeting for that purpose, and you have to vote on it by Australian ballot.
In the town meeting, in the representative town meeting.
8.
Is that what you're saying? Or is
There's a
that-
couple different ways that it can be proposed by the town meeting, or it can be proposed by the select board. And then you have to go through a process, and it gets voted on.
I'm not following you on, are we traveling under B or traveling under D?
A.
Under A.
This one just says.
So you would shed the commission
Oh, I see.
as individuals gathered signatures to petition the board to put it on for a townwide vote? Yeah, I got an idea. I don't know what your timing is for getting this out and getting it public. Any concern with me running it past
Not
Bob?
at all. I think running it through Bob is a good idea.
Yeah.
I'd like to have depending on where we land as a group.
Yeah.
If we land as a group thinking like, this is okay because of all the things we've just talked about, or even maybe preferable because of all the things we just talked about, if that's where we land, I'd like to have an opportunity, if Bob balks at it, to have a conversation with him about it, make sure that he's understanding the context in which we're not suggesting that there be an end run around anything. We know that what we're doing travels under D. And we've actually had, in the last 2 months, real life experience interacting with the select board around this very question that suggests that it's possible that it may go a different direction. And so we're just trying to be clear and complete about it.
So, what is 17 VSA section 2645?
It is adoption, repeal, or amendment procedures of charters. And that it's like there, it starts here, it goes all the way to here. So it's pretty lengthy, but there are a couple different methods, some of which sort of mirror these other alternatives that are set out. But I think what Patrick is getting at is that the only one that says that the way we can do it is D. Because it says by our recommendation.
That's
So
right.
if we were to propose it to the select board, that would not be as a committee. We would essentially like collectively go to the select board and
As an individual.
I think that's the concern, is that that's the only method that by which we can act.
Yeah. My only thought is, running it past Bob, I think the possibilities you enumerate are all, possible, but there may be clarifying language that he could add to make clear how they might be possible, or he might just say, this is great.
Because I do agree with Peter, if we don't say the townwide vote is possible and all of a sudden the townwide vote happens, everybody's going like, what the heck?
That's
You know what I mean?
what
There's
I'm
that-
worried about.
What if we just simplified it, said approval by the town? We don't say how, we just say the town approves it first and then the legislature.
I can see them getting confused by that too.
Yeah, I think people often, when it says approved by the town, often think that's a select board.
Yeah.
We could say town voters, but I think this is better than town voters
Too.
because it's more precise.
Because we have to remember, people are coming into this really not understanding what, the process for this. So I think we have to be as clear with all the possibilities as possible, so when people leave it, they understand.
I also think, I think it's right and necessary that we have Bob look at it. I think it's possible, I think B and D can be read, actually B, C, and D can be read as separation of powers, rather than when you're on this path, you have to be on this path, when you're in this path, you have to be on this path. But just that it empowers us to take something to final action without having to go through the select board. We're not accountable to the select board, we're accountable to the voters.
Right.
But I'm not sure, and to question the essence of the question for Bob, I'm not sure it would preclude us from completing our work and then delivering it to the board
Right.
with a request that they take it to the vote of the whole, all the registered voters. He might interpret it that way, I don't know, but.
So we're gonna be closed on Monday, but Bob will be here Wednesday at 2 if you wanna, if you're available.
I'll be out of town on Wednesday.
Okay.
Are you around?
And I think we want to move quicker than that, actually,
Yeah.
if we can be in touch with them tomorrow. Is that possible?
We can certainly try. I can get his attention.
Yeah. Depending on what else he's involved with, I understand.
Do you have any time tomorrow?
Yeah, I do have time.
I want to make sure if you want to, so he's going to say, hey Patrick, do you want me to talk to Peter? And I'll say yes.
Sure.
Do you have time to talk to him? Because I want to make sure that you get the chance to satisfy yourself that it's,
Sure.
you get to back and forth rather than me carrying your water. Oh, you didn't ask them the right way. You didn't ask them the right question.
Got it. I'm happy actually to carry that ball. Hannah, do you have time tomorrow? It, I think would be helpful. I can articulate, and Bob and I have had that kind of a conversation many times, but you've got a perspective on this that comes from your legal background, where you and he talking about it your way might be also helpful to getting to the
Different
end.
language.
I'm not speaking for Bob, but I have a note, and I assume it's from our review with Bob, that just says to clarify this whole.
That's funny.
I don't know if we're gonna get a straight answer from him.
That's very funny. Yeah, we might land it.
But I think that what we want to figure out is what can we, I don't want us to rule out, well, we don't know, so we can't say that. It's more like err on the side of, I don't know, I kind of err on the side of telling people,
Could be this, could be that.
yeah, because it's just knowing, going to enough of these public forums and things.
Are we okay as a group with this language if Bob doesn't say, you can't say that, that's not how it works?
I will also say, it's jogging a note in my head to say, like, this is an FAQ question. This is something that needs answered. So if it feels like it's not great because it's not in this document, but if as a clarifying point that maybe could be like attention could be drawn to, or like something at the very end saying an FAQ is available on, brattleboro.gov/charter revision type thing, but it, like I also jotted down a note of like the timeline, meaning we need this done by.
I have that.
Yes.
So like if as an extra point, an FAQ question could be, what are the ways that this is going to go before voters?
And I actually have 2 suggestions that do that for the FAQ. So we
That
can
answer the,
that just say what you do, like what are 2 questions, what the questions are, like what is the charter revision process and when will the commission finish its work?
Correct.
So when we get there, we can talk about that.
okay, but I mean, so
Yeah.
if it does get struck out, there is another place that we can put it
Yes.
to make sure, and then that would, so then to the, do we like this document? Do we want to call to anything else available? You do say when the meetings are, you say when the calendar and a website, but is there like maybe a specific call out of
the
FAQ
FAQs.
exists?
You know what the other thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that if we take out, say we take out the whatever they recommend, there has to be something that, I think people need, lots of people, like we're using whether to recommend a change, seeking input before deciding what to recommend, is like recommending to what. So I think that's, something is important in that first sentence. Because I think some people think that we're making the decision.
Right.
So it's gotta be, even if we take out whatever they let, it goes to the whatever, you know what I mean? It's gotta say something about who, like, what does it mean? Who are we recommending a change to?
Right.
That's why I think figuring out that sentence, if we could somehow keep something in like that.
Yeah, I agree, I think
You know?
that's important.
Yeah, because we don't want people to come along and think, oh, it's the 6 of us, and then they don't understand it in the bigger context. It isn't the 6 of us that are making this decision.
I would like to trust then that this sentence is going to pass.
Oh, the second one?
The last sentence of
Yeah.
the first paragraph is going to pass
Must go.
review.
You what?
I believe it will pass
You
review,
believe it will. Okay.
but that's,
Boy,
I'm choosing
I hope so.
optimism as well.
I am too. So we'll just have to see
See what Bob
what
says.
and then we'll have to go. and-
Rewrite
we
this.
we may fall back to, and I really hope we don't have to. We may be in a position of having to fall back to something that's more vague and not that helpful, frankly, to people.
Right.
Like, a vote of the town,
Yeah. And the
something
problem,
like that. What is a vote of the town?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it has to be, somehow we have to convey that this isn't us
right.
making this decision.
I think that's critically important.
It is.
There's 2 additional steps
Yeah,
beyond us. We bring forward ideas.
yeah,
Then there's action locally,
Yeah.
and there's action at the state.
yeah. Because if our idea,
but we'll work with that too before, what to recommend. next steps will include local action and state action.
Right. I'd way prefer to say it this way than where it's
But
clear.
as vague,
Yeah.
as an option for
But
vague.
if we get stuck with speaking to it vaguely, we could say,
Yeah.
subject to local approval and state approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if we're putting this, I think we should send it to the form in the comments when whatever we get done. We have to realize people are gonna read it and we're not there to explain it.
Right.
And if it's not clear, we're gonna have 500 letters to the editor and there's gonna be like mass confusion.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's-
Yeah. Okay, I think we know where we are.
I think it's worth putting this in Front Porch Forum too, because there's been a lot of debate about RTM on Front Porch
No,
Forum.
we definitely, I agree, I totally agree.
Okay.
And I'm happy to put
Place it
it
there.
out there with my name on it.
Yeah.
I
I
don't.
So they'll be mad at you.
Yeah, you'll accept the private messages.
You can get the wrath of Front Porch Forum. No, I totally agree, because I've seen that too, so this would be really good.
Is there anything in the RTM paragraph or the OTM paragraph that gives anybody any discomfort? We haven't touched on anything in either of those.
Nothing stress. I mean, we're never gonna get something that's not gonna, like, get somebody upset, so I gotta like look beyond that, you know what I mean? At a certain point, I mean, I think it's a good explanation.
Sorry. I realized I spoke out loud and I should have waited, you were mid-sentence.
Oh, no, I was just like, no, I was not, I was done.
Okay, the open town meeting paragraph second sentence, electing representatives, or, is it district representatives, some way to qualify it, because I think
Sure.
representatives is kind of broad,
Of electing district representatives?
or even,
There's no need, they don't, maybe it's more like, more explicit, like, we don't elect representatives.
Right.
well, but like representative, yes, it's important because it's representative town meeting to use that, but like representative members of, or I don't know, like, repeat the word, but it just feels too big for what.
Do we need that sentence at all?
Yeah.
In an open town meeting, any registered voter may participate and vote at town meeting. This enables a broader participation than
Should it say something like there's no, I think we gotta say something like there's no election somehow in that thing.
I think it's important to acknowledge that there is an in-between step. It's representative government is what we have right now, as opposed to direct participation.
And I think sometimes that scale is hard
Mm-hmm.
to put a conceptual map on, which is part of the confusion of it.
Mm-hmm.
And representatives here, there are so many ways that we have representatives.
Yeah.
And to say maybe something like district and that grounds it again.
I like that very much. And just by adding the word district, I think
Yeah.
it provides the clarity you're suggesting. Is that sufficient to you?
Ye-
Or have I missed your point?
No, it is, and the longer I'm sitting with it, it's like, well, we also have districts at the state level, so it's like, is that enough? But it does mirror, our districts, local districts mirror state district on purpose.
Yes.
But for this, I think within context, it probably is clear. I
I think
just
so.
acknowledge.
Yeah, I think the context of the entire preceding paragraph makes it clear what
Yeah.
is meant by district.
Yeah.
If it were existing on its own, I would agree that
Yes.
it's maybe confusing, but because it goes through this whole thing explaining what the districts are and how it's elected, that is going to make sense in context.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the word district too, yeah.
can I summarize what we've done, or do we have more to talk
I have
about?
a comment.
Mhm.
I don't think we've decided whether we're gonna do a survey. But if we decide tonight that we're gonna do a survey, we should mention that in the last paragraph.
I thought I had said something about that somewhere, did I not?
No, you said it somewhere else. So there's another document. Oh, I know what it was. It was in the letter to the select board. You mentioned.
Oh, okay,
survey.
that's
Yeah,
right, it
yeah,
was in
yeah.
the letter to the select board.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
And the other thing I think we should add too is that it can, we have this language, live streamed. It's gonna be live streamed by BCTV, and all that info, so people know that they don't have to show up. They can literally watch it however they want. And I've got all that.
Good. And you've got some good language in the FAQ document about, instead of saying, look at the town website, it's more specifically about what's in the charter area of the town's website with the different documents.
Yeah, that link, that being where it
So-
goes charter, yeah.
Yeah, so I've just made a note. I didn't put particular language here. I just made a note to steal it.
Totally
And
love
drop
it.
it in.
Do it. A consistency, not
Yeah.
stealing, being consistent.
Now, can I make okay, we can send this, if we pass this out at the meeting, and this is just me, being, I like things in ways, and you guys can all shoot this down, but what if we had a title, that right before the representative town meetings, paragraph, representative town meeting, and before the open town meeting, and then Australian ballot, if we pass it out to people, it gives them a
Give them a header.
landing place, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine for us to do. Once we've submitted this to the papers, if we want to have a handout, I agree, we
Yeah.
can make it be more visually
Just-
punchy.
Yeah, just like that.
Sure.
Because I like graphs.
And we can mess with the font and stuff
Yeah, I
and still
think
keep
it
it one
is-
page.
Bolded those terms
Yeah, I
into
was gonna say
paragraphs.
bold and underlined,
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
Totally.
sufficient.
Yes.
And I like the language, form of Brattleboro's annual town
Yeah,
meeting.
good.
Or Brattleboro's annual town meeting, or something like that.
Yeah. I like form of, that's what we're getting at.
Yeah.
We're wrestling with what's the best and proper form
Yeah.
of it.
And I think being consistent with Kate's draft press releases.
Yep, totally. Okay. Can I go through what I think we've done to it? Make sure that I haven't missed something?
Yeah.
So, changing the title or not having a title. Maybe if I can see us changing the title for a handout, probably just submitting it without a title to the papers. Having it begin with Brattleboro's Charter Review Commission. We had a very thorough conversation about the sentence we're going to check with Bob about, so I won't go into all of that. But we have a backup plan if Bob really feels objection. He's got a very strong objection to it. Next paragraph, we delete and possibly better, and delete is and replace it with may be, and delete in and statutes and replace them with by and law. We leave the RTM paragraph intact. In the OTM paragraph, we add the word district before representatives in the second line. In the Australian ballot paragraph, in the third line, between discussion and among, we add engagement and collaboration, and then we delete the final sentence. And in the last paragraph, we'll add Brattleboro between interested and residents in the first line. We'll fill in the blanks in the highlighted section, and we'll change the end of it in ways that will borrow from the FAQ document and add about the information about the live stream and the survey and wrap it up fully.
There was also, are we adding the word Brattleboro at the very beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
The
Yes.
Brattleboro Charter
Yeah.
Revision.
Yeah.
I missed.
And I know we've got the word Brattleboro's possessive in there twice in the first sentence. I think that's okay, just to make it really indelibly clear that this is all about Brattleboro. for the regional.
And not from Guilford, not Guilford or Vernon.
Yeah. Yeah, right, yeah. Okay. So Peter, you and Hannah will have a conference.
We'll have a
with
conversation with Bob tomorrow. I'll finalize this
Yeah,
and
then we have to.
send it to all of you and send it to, actually, we should decide where. So to the Reformer.
The Reformer in the Commons,
The
and Hannah will get
Commons.
it on Front Porch Forum. Then we can get it on Brattleboro would be another good place. Facebook.
Yeah, that's another one. Facebook.
I'll put it on Facebook. What? I'll put it on Facebook.
Mine is Darren, she'll put it on.
Facebook? Yeah, that's you, Maya? Okay.
You know, there's 2 town pages, right? Or moderated, loosely moderated.
And
I'm only on one. It'll go on that one.
the unmoderated.
Who's gonna do Brattleboro?
I can do Brattleboro.
You can do Brattleboro?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do the 2 newspapers.
Yeah, do the 2 newspapers, I don't think who else.
Place
I
else.
think it's good. If we think of anything.
Do we have time for the town newsletter? Is this
Oh.
the place or no?
Is it too big for the town newsletter? Wasn't Seth thinking about
I don't know.
putting, wasn't Seth thinking about putting something up just about the forum?
That is up. I
Yep.
saw it.
Oh, I thought he was gonna do a newsletter.
Oh,
just about
sorry.
the forum, or am I crazy?
There's a landing page on the town website
Yeah.
for the,
Because I'm thinking at one point he was thinking about doing a newsletter just about the forum. And if he did, maybe this can be linked, this could be on the charter page, and then there could be a link saying, because this is a long thing to read.
Yeah, no, we certainly can do that. There's already a flyer downstairs. Did you see that as you came in?
No.
There's a flyer about the February 6th meeting that's, it's available. There's, it catches your eye as you walk in the door from the parking lot. And then there's enough of them there that you can just grab one and take it with
Oh,
you if you want.
perfect.
nice.
We were too busy talking.
We were.
Right by it.
But it's on our website.
Yeah.
For the commission, and it's like, it says, click here for more information,
Yeah.
so I assume that's where you're saying this would go.
That's what I'm thinking.
My understanding of our discussion with him that last Friday was that he was going to include information about the event in the newsletter. I didn't get the sense it was going to be a separate newsletter.
I might have misunderstood, because I thought he said something, I can do something separate, but maybe it was separate to something else.
Kind of.
There could be a link to the website.
Yeah.
Can you take care of getting it put on the town's website?
This thing?
When this is final? This one pager?
It's on there in its current form now, and
Oh, right, it's on there as backup.
There is a new section that says there's a meeting coming up, click here for more information.
This
When
would
you
be
go
the-
there, there's like our podcast episode and there's some other stuff, so we can add this to.
I see, so we'll want to pull this piece of it off. It should live as backup for this meeting, but we don't want it out there in 2 forms as, like, in the place where people are getting informed about
yeah.
February 6th.
We want this to be the pretty one that they see.
Yeah. And I'll have that to you hopefully tomorrow, depending on if we can connect with Bob.
Hey, so I just sent Bob an email, and I asked him to call you. I gave your cell phone number.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah. No, check in with you before we leave about your availability.
Okay. So it seems like we have a plan on this.
He's going to be
Yeah.
in Dover tomorrow.
I'm sorry?
He's going to be in Dover tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know if you still have his number over there.
I probably do.
Okay.
But if he's calling me, we're good anyway. I've got a couple of appointments in the morning, but they're both brief. And I've got nothing in the afternoon.
Okay. Should we look at fun facts?
So I drafted the questions that came to my mind, and then I offered it, asked others to react to it, not in a group message to preserve open meeting, but, and I will give, Hannah was the one who changed forms of government, forms of, I had types, so this was changed to be good. Started pretty basic. I struck out questions to know that I thought about it, but I didn't think it was worth it. Just to acknowledge there might be some drill down, right, places. And I understand it will be printed, so links aren't going to be entirely useful unless it is electronic and can be thrown to. And generally the links aren't messy. They're not like strings of random letters. They're words, right? And one of the longest ones obviously is the part 1 and 2 about the history of RTM, but like that's just is what it is. So pulled as much as I could where it was needed, like from websites that already exist, not my language, and thought the logo would be nice. Our little emblem.
It makes us look official. If Patrick allows us to use.
I know, I'm not sure if there's like rules for using this emblem
The
or
state of
not.
Vermont has the rules.
We're using, I'm fine with this. We are starting to actually work on that, based on recent events, so.
Fair.
It was borrowed.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh, yeah, it was borrowed. I was like,
Oh, no, I didn't.
yeah,
That
that was bold.
Trying to do some research.
And then I saw it went away.
Yeah.
Because we're an official town committee, select board appointed committee.
This, in my judgment, is a purely, totally fine.
We're legit.
Do we need to check in with anyone? Should we
No.
add it as a question?
You're okay.
I'm ready to go down for this one.
Okay. Good. I'm not sure that we need to go, I need to read question by question, but if y'all want to jump in and react. It is lengthy, but it is a large font, 2 pages at this point, and already
I don't think it's even that lengthy, honestly. I think it's great.
I think it's, I don't think, can I give you my comments? How long has the commission been working? I think that's fine. But I don't think we've met at least monthly. Because there was a long period of time when we didn't meet. The summer of 2023, Kate and I met, well, twice a week. We didn't have commission meetings.
Well, why don't we, can we
How
just
about
say?
regularly?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
yeah. And my one comment about that was, do we have to say official meetings? Can we just go to current commission meetings and work began in the beginning of 2023?
I think it was just clarifying that because it was appointed in December, but then we officially began in 23, as opposed, like, that was my rationale.
Yeah.
I'm not wedded to it, but.
And I'm not wedded to taking it out either.
So I just think that the commission has met regularly since
its creation.
And one of the places where you've got a good reference to people being able to find more stuff is right there. And then there's the whole separate one of over on how can you get in contact.
Yeah.
Does the same thing by referring people to the meeting schedule and additional information at a link. Good stuff.
Repeat.
No, it's good. Good.
Okay,
Oh, you said, do you have more?
yeah. What happens to RTM committees? I would add, if the form of the annual town meeting changes.
If form of town meeting changes.
Yeah.
But the form of annual town meeting, right?
If the annual town meeting changes.
And I realize I truncated or abbreviated RTM. I'm not sure if it should be.
I think it,
It should be written out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would write it out too.
The copies of the charter, how can you, it's the third,
Oh, I know I didn't number them. Do you think they should be numbered questions?
no,
Okay.
the third thing on the second page.
Okay.
The clerk's office should it be the town manager's office where you get copies of the charter?
You certainly could in the town manager's office or on the website.
Is it manager or the clerk though? Do you know?
Well,
We're putting in the FAQ, like, do we say?
Hard
We don't want them to
copies,
feel like they're running around the building.
hard copies are available at,
why don't you go with town manager's office? We keep a supply in the other room and anyone's happy to come and get one.
And you should put 230 Main, is it 230 Main Street? For those people
230 Main
that
Street,
don't
Suite 208.
know. Ooh, sweet.
Not to be confused with 208A or 208B.
And my next comment is, how many members, elected RTM members are there? Is it 140 or 138?
This is from the website. This is a cut and paste.
Okay.
I'm happy to triple check it, but this is,
I don't know why 140 sticks in my head, but it's probably 138.
I will triple check the digits.
We did have that one David Scholes here, where he was on the school board
Right.
and on the,
Right, right.
and so we had one less on that particular year.
Oh, yes.
Representative town meeting consists of up to 140 elected voters and youth voters. But then there's also the, what do you call them, the,
Ex officio.
those.
Mhm.
So,
Which you name
yeah,
in here.
Ex officio, state representatives.
but I think we should say up to 140 elected.
Sure. I think the caveat language is like a sentence later says the total number of town meeting representatives is based on the number of registered voters per district. So it might be true in one snapshot versus another snapshot in time, but if the language is up to 140, then yes, this can be changed too.
It's up to 140 plus the ex officio, so
Yes,
it
yes,
does.
Yes.
Which you already have said.
140 elected town meeting representatives, up to 100.
Yeah, you've already got the ex officio covered well. I think
Yeah.
it's just in that one spot. Instead of saying including 138, it'd be including up to 140.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
And my last comment is, what happens at the annual town meeting regardless of form? Am I missing something, or I don't see vote on the budget?
That's the,
You have authorized select board to borrow money and anticipated,
I think it's the the last bullet point, raise and appropriate funds for levy, or
Yeah.
sort of like in there. It's fine to absolutely call it out as its own thing, which is I try to not be complicated on Kate's chart, but I wanted to, and when I was looking over things, it's like, oh, you know, what actually needs, what did people, I didn't want it to feel so money heavy. I think so many, like, people come in and think we're just doing the budget, but we don't. We do other things too. I wanted to make sure the list conveyed more than just that, but absolutely, if
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like,
Well, there's a technicality here.
we don't
We don't,
vote on the budget.
that's it.
We-
The expenditure budget is not subject to town meeting's approval. The levy
Right.
for property taxes is. But there's all those non-ad valorem revenues, the fees and things that are not taxes that are collected by the town that support the operations. And then there's a balancing number, and that balancing number is the number that RTM votes on, which is
Yeah.
how much taxes shall we raise?
And the thing though is people don't get that. They're voting on, they think they're going into voting the town budget.
Right.
So it's like
That's-
what's real and what is in people's minds are
that's
different.
why I wanted to put that
so
in there.
is that its own question? Is that the FAQ to say, does RTM or OTM vote on the budget?
I don't think we ought to say it.
Totally fine.
Just because the vernacular way of talking about it might be part of the budget. I mean, I've said that plenty of times too, but it's not true. If we're listing the actions that town meeting takes, you've got it right.
Yeah.
Levy the local taxes. I do think it's important for us to say currently somewhere in this section.
Yeah.
Because many of these things are not obligatory, but are just what we currently do.
Right, right.
So
And we
then,
might not always do.
right there in the beginning sentence, this is a simple list. Please refer to the charter for a current, more complete and detailed list of activities.
I'd say for a more complete and detailed list of the
Current.
current
Okay.
activities.
Because some of these things we're even talking about, this confirming the town charter and stuff, we have been actively talking about. Do we
Yanking
need that?
those. Yeah, exactly.
And I totally reduced your chart, like a 3-page chart, down to
But it's
4 bullet points.
Can I tell you something, Tony? I also like bullets.
And it felt weird just to see 4 bullet points at that, but also like,
But you have other things in those 4 bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's good.
Yeah.
And the 4 are distinguishable from one another. It's good that you created these 4.
Yeah.
So the strings relate really well.
Yeah.
And they don't relate as well to the things that are in a different bullet.
we got lucky. We got lucky.
Just like this is again, just technicality. Select board should be 1 word and it should be uppercase.
Yes,
3rd bullet.
true that.
Yes.
Not a problem.
Wherever it appears.
Where it appears.
Yeah.
One word.
All of places.
Yeah. There are a couple other places where it's.
Yes.
Are you done, Maya? Are we doing this?
Yeah, I'm fine with not putting the budget. I was just thinking that that's what people think.
Yeah. I know what said that.
Should we have a question that says, are we trying to get rid of representative town meeting? Should we just put that, like, is charter review committee trying to get rid of representative town meeting? And just say like, no, they're discussing all of the options.
We're wanting to fully review the options and for the public.
Does that feel too defensive?
Well, here,
Well,
but
I threw
why-
my question, is the discussion about having a mayor? I mean, that's putting out there and laying an exact question that I was asked. Does this mean a mayor? And I'm like, no, wait, that's
Right.
not the scope.
Well, you know what, after it says, why are we here tonight, blah, 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 and then there could be that question, is are we trying to get away with it? No. Will a decision be made tonight? No. You know what I mean? It falls right after why are we here tonight, and then, you know what I'm saying?
So the question is
I think it's actually right before,
You think?
why are we here tonight? It's,
Oh, yeah, you're right. It
Are we
falls
trying to
back.
get rid of representative town meeting?
No.
No.
Why are we here
We're
tonight?
trying to gather sufficient information to make an informed decision about whether to keep it.
Yeah.
And then, why are we here tonight?
Yeah.
To gather the public, blah, blah, blah.
So the answer, are we trying to get rid of RTM? The answer is no. Is there another sentence that happens after that, much like,
Yes.
Yes.
and it is,
I think we should say after that, whatever I just said that I don't
No,
remember.
We are exploring, we want to explore all the options.
Yeah, sufficiently to decide whether to keep it. The focus really is on, we would only move to one of the others if we get to a place where we land and conclude that we think it's better. Right? Nothing's perfect.
explore and discuss the,
Our purpose is to,
are we trying to get rid of RTM? No. You want to explore and discuss
all possible alternatives.
all forms of Vermont government,
Yeah.
Vermont town government.
But is it worth framing it in the default is sticking with what we've got? So the question to us is there a reason to change?
Well,
As opposed to just like starting out with nothing and considering 3 options.
and that's why it's something about using the word, are we trying to get rid of it?
Right.
Is it
Yes.
like, are we supposed to, are we thinking about changing? It's because rid of it sounds.
No, this is a very, like, it
think we
really
should say rid of
it's-
it?
it's-
That's
Okay.
the question.
That is the
That's what
question.
everyone
That's the
says.
ulterior motive question.
Yes.
Right, you're right, you're right, you're right.
Are you trying to get rid of
I think
them?
that's the question. Are we trying to get rid of representative committee? No, period.
Yeah.
We're gathering information about blah, blah, blah. I mean, we can
About-
wordsmith it, but so as to determine whether or not to keep representative town meeting.
Do we need that last sentence or just we're exploring all
See,
the options?
that's the thing, the reason I think we need the last sentence is because exploring all the options would be the thing you do when you don't have anything. We've got a thing, so we've got a decision to make as to whether we have received information about other things that makes us think they're better. One of them is better. Otherwise, why would we move away from this thing that's imperfect? Because just to try something else that's likely imperfect too.
That's true. But I like your answer about the mayor.
Got that one again. I was like,
Not tonight.
I have a couple of suggestions.
We already voted on that.
Right, I have two suggestions, and again, these go back to what we were talking about. One of them is the question, what is the charter revision process?
yeah.
And then I have the Charter Revision Commission may recommend changes to the charter. Any changes will need to be approved by representative town meeting or townwide vote, and then forward to the Vermont legislature for approval and the governor for signature. I added that governor part because he could veto this whole thing.
That's true, you could.
So that was one of the things I've recommended. I've typed it all out, people have it if you want. Then I go, when will the commission finish its work? The commission's plan is to finish its work so that any recommendations can be considered in the fall of 2025 by whatever, and forwarded to the legislature for consideration during the 2026 session. I figured those would go up in
Those would be great.
Absolutely. It makes me, and it triggers in my mind, do you think that it's worth saying an FAQ? I understand our focus here is RTM, OTM, Australian ballot, but to say there is a lot of other things in the charter that is happening. Please, like one more plug of like, this is a piece of the whole, and there is more work. There's more discussion happening. Is that okay as like the last?
Yeah.
I think that's great, and you already speak to that by inviting people to go to the website and look at a variety of documents and tell them when we meet, and I think that's good.
Does everybody want me to read again what I just said, or do you want to look at it? Does everybody?
I'm for it.
The first thing is dependent on what you folks learned from Bob.
Yes, exactly.
And I would just suggest that
Let's give a copy to.
when will the commission finish its work goes after how long have we been working?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the revision process goes after will a decision be made tonight?
Right.
Perfect. Yeah.
Sorry, which after?
This one would go. Yeah, we're making a decision on the 6th.
Wouldn't that be great?
Unfortunately, this one would go. There it is.
Torches and pitchforks.
May I offer
Oh, yeah.
two additional? Were you done?
I have one little typo.
Okay,
before I
go.
in. I don't, on the 1, 2, 3, on how long has the commission been working? This is like a super duper grammatical thing. I don't know if there's it says the current commission was appointed by the select board in December 2022. I don't know if there's a comma after December.
No.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like that.
No comment.
Okay. Oh, then there's one more other thing, sorry. When are charter commission meetings? Then it goes, the meetings are legally posted and warned and can be found on the town's website. You want me to just repeat that one more time, the town's website?
Yeah. And I have a suggestion for that one also, but finish what you're doing, because mine goes a step further.
No, that's.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually think it would be helpful in that one to have the header say when and where,
Oh, yeah.
and then have a second sentence that there's no magic to these words if you like different words, but what I've penned here is generally, but not always, the first and third Thursdays of each month in the select board meeting room and on Zoom, which isn't a sentence I'm realizing as I read it now. So it's a clause, but the point being that we tell them where they can go to confirm the information, but I think it'd be helpful to tell them normally what we do is
Totally.
first and third here and on Zoom, and then check the site to be sure. And one other thing, up in the very first, select board appoints a 7-member charter revision commission. I think we should delete 7-member. The charter, unless I read it too fast, I don't believe says 7 members. It just says appoint a commission.
Pretty sure I grabbed this from the website
I think it
as well.
does say so.
Really?
page 8, H, appoint from among them. But I'm pretty sure I grabbed this from the website, so let me,
Yeah, this paragraph doesn't say 7 members, and my concern is, I think you did right to delete the thing that you had thought maybe you would put in, because that feels cumbersome. If we had put it in, I think it would be cumbersome. But as it stands now, we've got them appointing a 7-member commission and then 6 people being named, and it could lead to confusion. So I think just striking 7-member is the thing to do.
Now, can I do another little picky thing, or I'm sorry, Peter.
I'm done, thanks.
Back up in what is the Charter Revision Commission? Pursuant to Article 4, Section 5H of the Brattleboro Charter, the Select Board appoints. I know this is a little picky things, Joy.
not even worried.
Cool.
I think it's good. Yeah, then I think when you add that final thing you were talking about at the end, that there's more stuff coming.
Right. Do we have like sample topics that could act as a teaser? Like what that? I know we have dates, but might you guys have thought about topics? Like we are making our way through some things, so it feels like what to potentially throw out as like, why didn't I come?
Oh, so much fun.
I'm not following.
Meaning like we've already voted on
Oh, I
some
see.
certain, like we're gonna change, we're gonna update archaic language,
I think we should,
school board's gonna be out, like,
well, to me, it's almost not like, it's not, and maybe, I don't necessarily think it has to be, hey, our upcoming topics are this, but what does, in overall, like what you were just saying, arcane language, you know what I mean, do we have, well, I don't know, arcane, but
I think we're opening up a,
so we should say what's coming up and not what because to me, it's like, what does charter revision mean? And I think what Joy's getting at, which is good, is we're looking at everything.
but it already says that back earlier in the document, and then we focus on, this is about the forms of town meeting.
Right.
And yeah, there's gonna be some other stuff, but I don't think we wanna try to list it. We'll inevitably leave something out.
Right.
And we also multiple times refer people to the website. Go check the website. There's all kinds of good information on the website. So if somebody wants to understand where are we and what's left.
Well, yeah, I don't want to say what's left. I think we were more talking about, it's not just RTM that we're looking at, isn't that what you were
I
talking
think it's
about?
both. I definitely was thinking in the eye of a teaser to encourage participation, like, oh, you didn't miss this topic, but we have already completed work, so.
Yeah.
I think we shouldn't say anything.
In terms of framing it in the context of an FAQ, I think you could say something like, I have an idea, or I have a suggestion about some other part of the charter, and just say like, the charter, the commission is reviewing the entire charter, and
That's good.
topics of meetings can be found on the web, like some
Yeah.
sort of
What if-
like making it
What
clear.
if I have an idea about it?
Yeah, what if I have an
Yes.
idea about some other part of the charter?
That's
Like,
fair.
You know, and so making clear that people can participate about other things, but that it's not the topic of
Bless
this
you.
meeting.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
really good. That's
And that gets into where we're saying, send us emails, come to our meetings.
Yeah.
So, any recommendation with that question be higher up, or is it the last?
I think it comes near the end.
I think it's the last thing. Yeah, perfect.
Maybe the how can you get in contact also goes down near the end with that.
Yeah, I think you could probably just even pull it from what Peter drafted and say, you know, like, you can send us an email, you can come to a meeting.
Right.
The topics of the meetings are on the website.
Okay.
Because there's an agenda.
All right, does anyone else have any more suggestions or comments? Do we feel good about this?
Thanks, Joy.
Yeah, thank you, Joy.
I'm smiling.
You should
See my eyes?
have like a Sharpie thing. All right, do we want to look at Maya's draft survey questions?
Quick aside then. To finish this and have timeline on this, what is the goal to maybe line up with some of the other documents, just so I can make sure?
Yeah.
And of course, the goal would be that it would be on our event page that's on the town website. And then if it is there, then it has a URL for some of these electronic places to tuck in that URL as well, so folks come prepared. So then that sort of seems like ASAP
Yeah.
on this.
And,
I have a suggestion.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hesitant to even let these words leave my mouth, but is it possible on your calendars, and I guess I need to check and make sure it's possible on mine, that like Monday night or Tuesday night, we might get together so that we do these revisions and then just get together for like 15 minutes or half an hour, say, yep, these are our documents, or do any final tinkering with them, just because we are making a lot of changes and now it's all going to go out.
Right.
I'm wondering whether we want to have that moment together if our calendars even permit it.
Monday's a holiday, so I don't think we
Yeah,
could
that's
use
true.
this building.
That's a good point.
And I won't be here,
Okay,
and I won't be here on Tuesday.
okay. And we want to get some of this moving
Is it possible to send them
before
around
then.
by email? It is open meeting, but like, can we do that as long as those emails get disclosed?
Technically not.
Yeah.
It's not enough that they're public record. They're also supposed to be, the action of saying, yes, these are our documents is supposed to be taken in front of the public who can engage with us. I mean, it's a little bit much, but it's technically why you do it in public.
The 22nd, Wednesday, you're not gonna be here.
Wednesday, I'm not available. Thursday, I am, but I don't think we want to wait that long.
No.
So,
Do we
and
necessarily?
so maybe it's not, maybe we don't need to do that. We just need to
It
Just depend on each other for the
If they go
different
to
pieces.
everybody, and then people make comments to the author,
still, that's really thwarting
It's one of
the
those,
intent
like-
of the law.
Yeah. Chain of custom, whatever it
That's
is.
true.
I trust in Joy's capacity to make edits and Peter's capacity to make
Yeah,
edits, and I
so
do not feel the need to formally approve the final language.
Same.
Thank you.
Agreed. And I think the question is, what's the timeline that we get it all done at the same time, so it all goes
Yeah.
to where it needs to go?
It would actually be neat to distribute the two together so
Yeah.
that they're together wherever they go.
I would agree.
And maybe even the papers, so I mean, that makes particular sense on the social media postings, but maybe even the papers would do like a little sidebar thing of the
Yes.
FAQs alongside the narrative explanation.
Yeah, as much as we can send out,
That'd be great.
yeah. Okay.
so what's the deadline for the newspaper?
Well, the comments, we'll publish on the 22nd, 29th, and February 5th before the meeting. So I think we should try to get it in one of the sooner, not just on the
Yeah,
5th.
if we got it in on Monday, there's a possibility it might go in on Wednesday, right? Or does it have to be in before the weekend?
No, it could, yeah.
Monday is a holiday.
Right, but the paper will still be
Oh, yeah, the paper still goes.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it might actually be better for it to be on the 28th,
yeah.
Okay,
So if we can get it
so
done,
that it's,
next week sometime. Then you're-
yeah, if we can get it done, then we,
mind.
yeah.
Okay,
What,
what we should do with the comments though is try to get it done so, get it there like on the 23rd so that Jeff knows it's coming and will make space. If we get it on Monday, it's gonna be a freak
Yeah.
out because then.
so that's
papers-
Thursday?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that would be the ideal.
okay.
And I can also give them a heads up or send them something.
Yeah,
But
okay.
that would be best. And then, the reformer gets it at the same time too, so they'll run it that week.
Right.
but I agree, the social media postings maybe should be,
I think those can
The
go out
week.
whenever the documents
Let
are.
go.
yeah,
And the things
So
can get
they're closer.
reposted, right? If
Oh,
you want
yeah.
to do a reminder.
Oh, we can do it, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I do think that we should have some paper copies of this
Mhm.
and that other thing
Mhm.
that Peter did at the event.
Sure.
Would that be okay, Patrick, if we make
Yeah.
paper copies?
Yeah. When we get final documents, I don't know, what do you want, 50 or 100 or?
More than 50. You think more than 50? Yeah.
I mentioned it at the Parks and Rec meeting, and somebody perked up that I did not expect.
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of interest in town government right
Oh,
now.
I know.
Yeah. Petitions for select board.
Tell me a number and I'll make that amount.
Let's do 100, and if we're blessed to need more than that, we can run to the copier.
Right. People can share.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes, families
Yeah,
can share.
Engage
Share.
and collaborate.
Yeah.
Meet your neighbor.
Okay, so are we ready to move on to Maya's survey questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Maya.
Well, I did the definitions as short as possible, but I was also waiting to see what we would say tonight. So I'm gonna make some changes based on what we said about the FAQs. For example, current form of town, representative town meeting with up to 100. And so any comments people want to make on the, I wanted to keep them short.
Yeah.
Well, so if I, sorry,
Please.
Go
I
ahead.
apologize. Just my mouth starts.
No.
Brain. I feel like in the way that the survey actually would be, the definitions would be first or maybe on top. And if I imagine this being a electronic survey,
Yes.
it's sort of maybe each page refreshes, but the definitions stay on
Yeah.
top. And maybe even at that, they don't even have to stay on top. The definition right next to each one. And so that way, open town meeting, repeat the definition, against Australian ballot, repeat the definition. So that way it's always right there. Because to compare the language, and then that makes it so much stronger to say, if anything, lengthen to be extremely clear, borrowing the language, maybe that's another, and maybe in that sense, it's not right next to each one, but it's a chart on top to say which one.
Yeah.
Page refreshes, which one, page refreshes the next like duel of that, but because of this adopt the budget, maybe borrowing from, and I don't know if we love it, but like borrow from the FAQ, those bullet points.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes.
said.
Yes.
But
I think what you just said makes a lot of sense, and I think it's important actually, even though it'll be a little bit cumbersome, so people don't have to be moving around to connect the information that helps them make a choice to the place where they're making the choice. I think the idea of having the explanation repeated over and over again on the ballot.
There's a way, I believe, on SurveyMonkey where you can keep it,
I think so.
keep the definitions at the top.
Yeah, but what I was, so you were talking about that as one alternative, then another alternative was just to have it actually with the choices each time. I think with the choices each time is actually preferable, so it's right there in front of you.
Yeah, but taking these definitions from the second page and just plugging those into the questions.
Yes. So every time you're faced with one of these binary choices, you're seeing the description of each of the two things right there.
So what language, based on our previous discussion, should we substitute for the budget? Because I use that term because that's what people say. What?
Totally, yeah.
But
Well, and I mean, that's what's hard because it would exist in all of them. It's just in the form. So if anything, it would be to strike that entirely and just say they're up to 140 representatives meet on the third Saturday after the
Right.
second Tuesday
To conduct town business.
to conduct town business.
Yeah.
And open town meeting would be all registered voters on the first Tuesday of March.
I think we don't want to be that specific
Yeah.
about the dates because while it is fixed for under the current charter for how our RTM is held, there are a variety of different ways that towns hold their OTMs.
Okay.
And we could even we could keep RTM and change the date if there was some reason why we thought that was a good thing to do. So I
Fair.
think we should just be careful about that, not be that specific. And we've got David wanting to offer us a comment.
Are we calling on?
Oh, yeah, what the heck? You might have some-
Mr. Levin.
It's a member of the.
I'm sorry, I'm out of sequence, but I admire you doing what are called pairwise comparisons for each of the one option against the other. But for people who are not used to that, you might want to have some explanatory language in there, which says, we're going to ask you a whole series of questions, but they're all designed to winnow down and give you an opportunity to express a preference. I don't know, the language needs to be there, but otherwise people say, these people are nuts.
Just ask me that.
Which I don't think you are.
No, I learned how to do this, and I was telling Patrick before the meeting, my master's stat class kind of came back to me when I started thinking about
No, it's exactly the right way to do it, but you need to explain to people why they seem to be getting the same questions back over and over again.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure.
Thanks, David.
Can you
Bye.
send me some
You owe me a phone
language?
call, Kate.
Can you send me some language, David?
I'll Google it. And Kate, you owe me a phone call.
AI will send you some language.
I would recommend having each of these definitions be like structurally the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the way this is now, it's not clear that but like, so, an annual town meeting to vote on town business, which is open to all the voters, and then this one could, instead of saying the current form, like, you could say the current form of annual town meeting. Yeah, but like, I just think that it should make it clear, like the comparison should be clearer because the language is the same.
Yes. So that the differences pop.
Yes.
Yes.
What about something like the current form of town meeting?
The current form
Where
of
would
annual town meeting.
In which.
In which up to 140, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
We're elected to.
are elected to conduct town business,
Mhm.
period.
That's good.
And what about, now the next one would be the current form of town meeting with modifications accepted by,
So I'm worried about that one.
are you?
I think I like that it's here. I think it accurately reflects what we're wrestling with, and we've really got to work hard on how we phrase, what does this mean modified?
Right.
And we've wrestled with that a couple of other times in anticipation of like when we thought we were going to phrase a ballot question. And it's hard to describe modifications that don't yet exist, that might exist if we decide that we're going to try to modify it. So I'm just worried about that. And it begs the question to me of, do we think with some effort we can get something good and clear written down, or do we take modified
Right,
out?
out of it.
Could we just have that be a separate question of saying, do you think representative town meeting should be modified from its?
No, that's not a good way to do a
Yeah, but-
survey.
Well, just to have it be like a yes, no,
Right.
and then you can have the RTM question in there. I don't know that you need to necessarily make the distinction between yeah, I don't know how to articulate what I'm saying, but I don't, and maybe the questions is just comparing these three options, and then there's sort of a yes or no alternative of should RTM exist in its current form or
If RTM is retained, should it be modified to address concerns that have been raised by the public or something?
yeah, something like that. I don't know.
And it's a yes or no question. I think that could work. think that that's exactly the right words, but I think we're getting closer. And I do think if it begins with, if RTM is retained, comma,
Yeah.
and then some good, clear phrasing of a question about
Yeah.
changes.
And it sounds like it's not a free-form answer, it's a binary answer, because the pre-form ideally would be coming to us via, and maybe at the end of the survey it says, come to meetings, here,
Give us
like use that,
suggestions.
borrow that exact same
Yeah.
language
Yeah.
to say, come to meetings, here's where you find the documents again,
Yes.
keep
Yeah.
sending them back to the website, and that come to meetings, you know, when we have them.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And then maybe if there's a way to, I was gonna say make them give their email address so that way they get signed up, maybe automatically and opt in. Or, you know, the receipt of survey includes this sort of closing language. Go to the website for meeting materials and agendas.
And how
If
do
we have a captive audience.
how do we intend to actually conduct the survey? Is this going to be something that we announce on the 6th and send people to a website to actually do?
Hopefully.
But like, is it
And
also
we
pushing it on like the newsletter, right?
Right, and we talked about handing out something on
With like a
the
QR
election
code.
day
Yeah.
as
Oh, that's
people are
right.
leaving,
That's right. Yep.
reminding them that there's a survey.
And we also should have paper surveys available, whether we ask Star at the library, can we have some there? Maybe have some at the senior center, because not all people are technology.
Yeah.
They just have an
You don't think
option.
they're going to stuff the ballot box?
Well,
Well, I'm actually a little concerned potentially hitting people in a couple places that even an anonymous survey is never anonymous,
no.
to be able to potentially weed out duplicate surveys.
Yeah, there's a way to do it by
I
either
can't.
email address or
Yeah.
IPA.
But not with the.
What the
Not with
paper-
the
I can't
papers.
believe someone would go to the senior center and get 20 of these and like copy them.
No, if anything, I'm actually more worried about electronic, not paper.
I think that the survey's a good idea. I think that we can announce that there will be a survey and have a later rollout date, and then we
That's
can
good.
refine this
That's
after
really
the
good.
6th, based on the feedback we get. That's actually really
Oh,
good.
that's a
Totally.
good idea.
Great idea.
Like announce like there will be a survey starting March 1st or February 15th or whatever
Maybe
we
not
want it
even
to
that.
be.
In the weeks ahead, we
Yeah.
will
Be
be
on the lookout.
I
doing
do
a
think it's a
survey.
good idea to have it rolled out by election
Totally.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
that's a good idea. Really good idea.
I think that we can, I think we can vote, but I think if we decide that we want to proceed with the survey, we don't have to finalize it tonight.
Right, we can finalize it. I like your idea.
Right.
Let's get the feedback on the 6th, and then on the 20th, we can finalize it
Yeah.
and still be ready for March 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So if RTM is retained, should
Should,
there be modifications?
yeah,
Should there be,
should it be modified to address
express
Current
concerns?
Current, I was gonna say like, it's something about like how, like, not the sentiment of today, but like to reflect the diversity of, or I'm trying to harken back to what it was, but you know, amended for what it's needed today.
Like current, something.
mm,
Amended to address current needs, current
Concerns?
concerns.
Well, see,
Because there's not only the like procedural questions, there's like how many members should it be? Like there's sort of a
How
lot
they're
of different
elected.
kinds of modifications that
Totally.
are raised that address different kinds of
structural,
questions.
procedural, absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard some people want to get rid of caucusing, for example.
So that's why it's gonna be so hard to write it. I think maybe we leave that, punt on that tonight and keep thinking about it.
Well,
and-
I'll try to come up with something that we
Yeah.
can look at, that we can.
Yeah.
and maybe if you do two versions of like a drill down to super specific language and then also a really high level language just to feel the difference to go, oh, that hurts. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
But in the way just to acknowledge we played with the words.
Yeah. If we were initiating a discussion and not conducting a survey, I think a such as list would be really useful, but I'm afraid of a such as list for
Not on
a
a
survey, because then we
survey.
just plant a couple of particular ideas.
Yeah.
And then put, one of the other questions, are you a Brattleboro resident?
Yo, yeah, the first one.
Mm.
If you say no, you get kicked out.
Yeah, you get kicked out. You
A
don't get,
conditional question.
there are those things that you can do that going, thank you, and then you go away.
Yep.
And then say, we have to say this will only take like a minute or something, because people think it's
5
gonna take a
minutes.
long. Well, if it's only 1, 2, 3, and 4 questions.
Well, I give it thought.
Yeah, complete them thoughtfully.
Plus,
Yeah, oh yeah, a thoughtful consideration.
if I
Should
saw,
take 5 minutes.
if I saw 5 minutes, I go, forget it. You have to,
I was under, you know,
that's my
take this 2-minute survey, and then if you take longer, that's on you.
If you're a slow reader, it'll take you longer.
Okay, now, if we want to look at the draft press release in now context of everything we've talked about. I don't think we need to make this super long. It's basically like it could be a blurb, they'll use it as a blurb in the newspaper, wherever we put it, so that people know what to do. So I don't know if there's something we want to add. I know I'm going to change 7 to 6, but I had that too, Joy, somehow. What do we want to add, like for Peter's stuff or Joy's stuff that goes in here? Is there anything?
Should we say invites Brattleboro residents instead of invites the
Oh,
public?
yes, you're right. Yeah.
It's getting cold.
And move on to here. And again, this is just something like to appear in a blurb.
Yeah, one of those little square things that they
Yeah.
put in at that meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, on contact,
Who has access to our email account? Like, where does it dump?
Patrick.
It dumps to staff?
I'm sorry, can you,
The, like, charter at brattleboro.gov, where does that inbox, who mans that inbox? Just you?
just,
Okay. I just didn't know if, like, that would be potentially
No such thing as
overwhelming.
Just you.
I get horrendous volumes of emails that it wouldn't overwhelm me. It's in a special place. I will tell you that, strangely enough, I just noticed on the website that that's where we are directing people to ask questions of the Charter Commission. When we set up that email, my thought was that we were setting up a way in which to document discussions about it. So to use it as something, you throw in the CC Charter so that we keep a record of it. So I'm gonna spend a little more time checking that email.
Great, love it,
Pardon?
love it.
Okay, good stuff. But it's just in my inbox, kind of somewhere down here, there's a section where charter stuff comes in. Great.
Perfect.
I have I like the way that Joy had the list of numbers with Kate and Maya first, and noting that they're the chair and vice chair. I understand that this is alphabetical, but I think that we should swap that out for the language from the FAQ. And this website, instead of going to the town charter, it should go to the charter commission. Like brattleboro.gov/charter commission, not town charter.
Oh, okay. That's a chart. Does anybody have any other?
I would just, for the contact, give a bump to our,
Yeah, well, what I thought I would do, if it's okay with you guys, is like put my name on it, because it might be somebody like Chris Mace has a question.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
By all means, you're in chair. You should do that. And I think actually to keep it tight, because we have these other resources, maybe instead of borrowing earlier in the meeting, you talked about like taking pieces and dropping them in. I think instead of that, maybe you reference them.
Yeah,
And with links or not, but just to where the news release talks about how we're gonna do this thing, and we created some resources for people to be able to refer to prepare for the meeting, this and that and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, but it keeps the news release tight.
I think this needs to be as tight as possible.
Yes,
And what, yeah, because there's so much other information
right.
that,
And it's easily linked.
yeah.
Even if it's just, somebody goes to the website, it's all gonna be there.
Yeah.
You're taking out 7 number.
Yes, I put 6.
I just,
Yeah,
Or they don't
that's
take
right.
it out. Or oh, that's right.
Or
that's
just
right,
the commission.
That's right, the commission. Okay. All right.
Yeah, good.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, you will reference the FAQ and like.
Yeah, I could say, you know, more information can be found. I don't know if you want me to say exactly what it is or more details.
No, I
I
think
think it's
actually.
good to name them.
Yeah.
The things that we've done specific to that evening, I think it's good to name them. And you could move the final paragraph of this, that references the Charter Commission part of the website.
Yeah.
Move that up in the body of the news release and say, you know, go there for more information, including.
Yeah, I would call out because
Yeah.
I see more information, go here, and it's like, "Mer," but if you say FAQ, I'd be
Right.
like, oh, there's something to read.
That's right.
Joy's, FAQ. Peters. What are we calling this thing? Our
Maybe a summary of the 3 forms.
yeah,
Peter's summary.
Peter's summary. Okay,
Our
summary. Okay.
partnership, y'all.
In this together.
teamwork makes the dream work.
There you go.
Okay, so the timing of this thing again is we're trying to get the FAQ and this
Peace.
piece,
Up by Thursday.
yeah, out by Thursday. And then what I can do is I'll send this out at the same time, you know what I mean, so it'll all
Great.
hit. Does that sound
Yeah, and I mean, we had identified who was gonna send to where.
good? Yeah,
So maybe if we package the documents, if we all get our documents done by Wednesday,
yeah,
then on Thursday, each of us who's responsible for a
right,
piece
Send them all
can take
together.
the 3 documents together
Yep.
and ship them out.
I think that makes really good sense.
Does that work?
I'm smiling.
Okay, all right, well, I think we made progress with that.
Yes.
I don't know if we want to,
It's cold.
yeah, it's cold. Now, do we want to, I know the state statute one's going to be a little bit longer conversation, probably. So, do we want to save that for an, and I don't know what this thing is, I totally don't know, discussion and possible vote on the powers of the select board. I don't even know what that is. Number 3.
What's that now?
Number 3
I
under
don't
old
know,
business.
you said it.
I don't know, I gotta go back to my notes. So can we like
Hmm.
table that to the next meeting or a future meeting?
It's section,
I think that's that long list of
And we were gonna do.
offices and committees, and we had tentatively decided we didn't want them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
exactly what it is.
right, but I don't know if, why, I guess we didn't vote on it
No,
for some reason.
Okay.
and we were gonna discuss it further.
Yeah, okay, so does everybody mind if, do we want it, because it's 8:05?
We can push it out.
Okay,
It's fine.
and then I think the other one, in the charter, should action in the charter by state statute be included in the charter? And I think that's a little bit longer discussion too, or am I
Yes.
wrong? Oh, Patrick?
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little confused. So the thing you just passed over, which was Article 4
Yeah.
on page 7,
Yeah,
the minutes of the meeting last week, does it not I will motion to eliminate the enumeration list
That's why I could
on page 7. Didn't you?
We must have done,
How
well, that's why I was so messed up about that. I'm like, what?
Okay. Didn't remember that we voted.
No, that's why I was like really confused by that.
No, we voted to eliminate,
Great.
We did.
we're done.
no,
Says
this
eliminate.
addendum C.
No, but on the second
Not the
page.
companion of this.
Yes,
Page 2 of our minutes.
Yeah,
yeah, we did vote.
yeah, to eliminate the enumerated list 1 through 12 in that section and to modify as needed. Or maybe we were trying to figure out modifying the first section.
Yes.
I think that's what it was. We hadn't decided the language to modify. Do you see what I mean? And it's modify as needed the first paragraph of that section following letter F. Yeah, I think that's what we did not.
Oh, right, we want the list gone, but we need to reword the section.
Yes.
But I thought that would be a Hannah rewording that at some point when it's ready, we would look at.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can skip it.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
We can put it on when you're ready.
Yeah. It's almost
Not
like it
there.
goes out of my head. Okay. Okay. So I think we put that. Okay. Now the other one, I think the discussion about actions in the charter being covered by state statute, I think that's a little bit a longer discussion. Doesn't that seem longer?
Yes.
All right, and I don't know if everybody minds like waiting for that on another one too. The other ones, I don't know about the glossary was, we have to decide to vote on it. And again, I don't know if people want to think about that some more.
It's addendum D.
Yeah, page 18. I mean, do we want to have that discussion now or do we want to do that at a?
I think that's a discussion we can have near the end.
Perfect. And now the other two, does everyone else agree with that? I'm just whipping along here.
Yeah, at the end of our process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I only put these other ones, thought of the history and of the charter and history of the town, because if we're gonna do it might take a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if we wanna do it, we should start figuring it out now. My personal opinion, for what it's worth, is that everybody has their own definition of what the history of Brattleboro, or their own view of what the history of Brattleboro is, and who are we to put it down into a paragraph. We have a library, we have a historical society.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's almost,
I 100% agree with that it would be hard to distill it down to something that is tight enough to be appropriate to fit into this document.
Yeah.
And then there's the question of whether it's appropriate in the document at all.
well,
So
that's it. To me,
I feel as though we actually had made a decision together. I feel like Hannah articulated this pretty emphatically
Yeah.
months ago, maybe over a year ago, about not putting in things that are not needed there. When we came out of our work of looking at the other charters, we recommended the same thing. Like we saw a lot of charters and the ones that are wordy are less useful.
Yeah.
So I feel strongly on both number 3 and number 4 that those histories belong someplace else, not in the charter. And I would say, just as preview, I know we're going to discuss it another night, but I think I would ask that we all reflect on what, if there's language that some among us want to have in this charter that is just grabbing something from state statute, there ought to be a real intentional purpose. And we did that once already related to ethics, because there was a very specific intent to that. But outside of something that's that particular, it's all in the statutes. And what the purpose of the charter is to have the things that are where we're not just following statute, we have our own rules.
Right.
So I'd like to have that, when we do have that discussion, I'd like to have it in that context of, is there anything else besides ethics that's important enough that we would actually cite the statute in the charter?
Instead of talking about history of the charter or history of the town, I think we ought to look at the preamble.
yeah, that's on the list too.
I mean, we can put those other two off until we decide what to do with the preamble, and then
do you think, I mean, do we have consensus right now that we actually wanna, I mean, if we're all like, we don't wanna put the history of the charter, we don't wanna put the history of the town of Brattleboro in right now, can we just dispense with it, or does anybody feel like they wanna think about it?
Well, there's some in the preamble, there's some history of the charter. So I think we
Where's
ought
the
to.
other history?
It's incomplete.
What?
Where's the other history?
There isn't.
Okay, it is just the preamble that
Yeah,
is the
these-
history.
These two things came up like literally maybe like meeting two.
Right. Right, because they were low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is any strong opinions either way. I don't know that we need to get rid of the very first part of the preamble that lists out these sort of goals for the town, but especially depending on whether or not we decide to change the form of government, the rest of this is going to be possibly obsolete. And I think it has a nice sentiment, but it is unnecessary. And just from a practical standpoint, it would be helpful to retain the preamble so that we don't have to renumber every single part.
So we'll get.
Well, yeah, no, I think
Well-
we ought to have something in the preamble, and that's what I want to look at.
Yeah. The history that's set forth in the preamble honestly makes me really uncomfortable.
And it's not,
It's
and it's
so
not-
partial and I believe not fully accurate.
it's not up to date. It doesn't talk
Right.
about changes that have been made.
Well, and even, it says we've existed under 3 charters. I know we've had more than 3 charters. We've probably had dozens of charters,
Yes.
or at least a dozen charters.
That's why I said it's out of date.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like,
Yeah.
so,
But,
in-
like,
It doesn't
right.
talk about the 16-year-old vote, for example, and it doesn't,
Right.
so
so.
do we, are we saying we want to wait and decide on the history of the charter and the history of the town of Brattleboro and talk about it with the preamble, or are we just saying, no, we're not gonna add these new sections?
So I guess we're talking about the preamble. I would like to strongly suggest that if we're going to have a preamble, the charter doesn't have to have a preamble, but I understand the practical value of keeping it so that for the organization and the article numbers. So if we're going to have a preamble, my suggestion would be that one of us draft something in the weeks ahead that is a short, more philosophical statement, not trying to recite facts that, and where do you start, where do you stop on facts, but just something that talks about, this document establishes the blah, blah, blah for the town of Brattleboro so as to, achieve maximum public benefit, blah, blah, blah. There's like 3 or 4 sentences that's just philosophical or, inspirational as opposed to practical. And then we move into the practical stuff. But it's tiny just to retain Article 1 being a preamble.
And I think that as biased or incomplete or whatever this might be, it is helpful to clarify that this is a living document, that it is designed to, evolve
changed
with the
over
town
time.
and to be changed over time. And
Absolutely.
so I think that we don't need to address that now, but I am prepared to move that we do not add any additional history or additional, what was the other one?
For the charter or the town?
For the
Additional
history
charter.
of the charter or the town.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, Hannah has moved and Maya has seconded that we do not add any additional history of the charter or the town of Brattleboro to the charter. Okay, okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
6-0. We just took care of 2 things. Okay. Okay. All right, so the plan then is to move forward. Oh, there's one more thing before I forget about the big meeting in February. I have to find out from the library staff when we can start setting up. It'd be really great, because if we don't set up, the library staff has to set up and take down. So I'm gonna find out when we can get in there and do that, and whoever can come and then help take down, or they're gonna end up doing it. We need to
Totally.
help them.
Yep. Tell us what time.
Yeah.
Send us an email, tell us what time to be there.
I was gonna do it before I got here, but I totally forgot.
And if it's okay to ask this at this time, since it's our last gathering, rules and responsibilities.
yeah.
I mean,
That's a good
the
one.
person who watches the clock,
Yeah.
the person who
Yeah.
acknowledges the next speaker,
Yeah.
and how we respond back to.
Right. And how long we let people talk is another issue.
Yeah, just flat out, is it 1 minute, 2
Yeah.
minutes, 3 minutes? Is it is the statement flexible to say we want robust engagement and at this, we will start with a cap of this amount of time and adjust if needed and reduce if needed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do need to do that. I hate to put a limit on it, but we've got 90 minutes, right? We're gonna use a half an hour to tee it up-ish,
Yeah.
half an hour-ish to tee it up. So we've got approximately 90 minutes and we're hoping to get
As much as-
dozens of people speaking, so.
And in that case too, it can be, we'd love you to keep your comments to 2 minutes or whatever. And at the end, if there is time, we'll let you talk a second time. You know what I mean? So we're not,
That sounds good.
Oh, Patrick.
So it just dawned on me, we're gonna need to warn that meeting.
Oh.
And,
It feels like it is because it's on the website.
I think it might be challenging, but are you envisioning that we also conduct the meeting on Zoom?
No, I have talked to BCTV about that, and because it's challenging, I mean, obviously, we're not gonna have people be able to talk, like Zoom in and actually
Yeah.
talk to us.
Yeah.
Because that just adds this confusion, and I don't think we have to do Zoom anymore, right? We don't have to,
Oh.
I don't think you do.
no, I don't think we have to, that was just
So we
COVID.
don't have to, okay.
Yeah, but we also, but I think what's important too is, I know it's not Zoom, but we're gonna have it, you can watch it on BCTV's Comcast channel.
I'm not
YouTube.
suggesting you do it that way, I'm just asking if
No.
that was your
No.
assumption.
No, no.
Good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we'll just warn it as a regular meeting and.
yeah,
I think we should warn it as a special meeting, actually.
to make
Sure.
it more.
Just because we're gonna be at a different location, because we're not gonna have Zoom, I think it would be good to distinguish it as its own thing where we're gonna be hearing from the public about this form of government question.
Now, when you warn it, can you put in, you can also watch it or these things, or do you not put that in because that really is irrelevant to?
No, actually we do, we warn select board meetings that way.
Yeah.
Tell them where they can watch it.
Oh,
We
okay,
could identify where you can watch it.
perfect. Okay, so we
Do
get,
you want me to write something up
I'll just do, I have the blurb.
Like,
I'll just,
like what?
for
about,
the warning?
No,
I have
I think,
The
We
press
warn it.
release is good?
Pardon?
Just using the press release is okay?
I think
well,
we'll
I mean, like the way we warn all the meetings.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And you have that blurb about BCTV and everything.
Cool.
Okay, so let's, like, the meeting's warned, we set the room up, we all sit down, and then that's like what happens. And I think at least one of us should we should all either, whether we all introduce ourselves, we're gonna have a floating mic. There'll be, I don't know how many mics will be at the table, but we can all take a mic and introduce ourselves.
Yes.
And then we lay out how we want to work it. And, whether we say we're gonna make a presentation or whatever, blah, 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 then we're gonna open up, but then it has to be the clear thing in our opening that this is not the air grievances about RTM, and
Yeah.
that's gonna be the,
Yeah, and maybe a half an hour is way overkill.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more like 10 minutes of summary,
Yeah.
just something that just kind of
because people might go like, you
does
guys are
set the
doing
table
it.
for that conversation that evening without trying to be more of an education on town meeting.
Yeah, because we might lose people if we blab
Yeah.
on forever.
Yep, I think that's right. And that also allows us to be a little more liberal with the time that each individual takes to comment.
All right, so how are we gonna set how are we gonna set the tone? Like, what's our 10-minute blurb gonna say?
Is it the 10-minute or are you talking about ground rules?
Well, there's two things.
Right, so are you talking about the presentation of why we're here or the ground rules for how we're gonna engage?
Which one do you wanna take? We're gonna talk both,
So then let's start with ground rules because I think that's the beginning.
Yeah.
So then it would be, so length of time, I think most people are used to 2 minutes. So we can start with 2 minutes probably.
Yep.
And acknowledge that one of us has,
Timekeeper.
I'll
is a timekeeper.
be the timekeeper.
And we hope and expect everyone to honor that warning. I like some of the select board language of, talk to us and
Mhm.
not each other unless, but I don't even think there is a reason to be talking to each other. But if that feels comfortable for everyone else. As an aside, do we feel like we actually need a note taker because it will be recorded? Does anyone, do we feel like somebody should be a note taker?
I think if there's something that we hear that might help us with the survey or moving forward,
Okay.
one of us will
Just
write it
everyone
down
sort of
anyway.
prepared
Yeah.
for their own notes.
I do think we need to have someone sort of keeping track of what's already been asked and answered
Yes,
and not
definitely.
letting it spiral into an echo chamber about
Yeah.
one thing. So
Building off that is the balance of not as much as possible to have it be speak for against one, for against the other, or for against, but a balanced sort of make sure it's not I hate just in a row, but that the hope is for a balanced in similar things that I've heard in sort of these RTM gatherings, right? Of make sure it's a pro and a con. Is that my 2 minutes?
Yeah, you're doing
I was just trying to see what.
What 2 minutes sound like?
And to get to that point though, to pivot or think about what you're saying is, are we saying to everybody, we want to hear whether you're for open town meeting or not, or for representative town meeting? What is it we're asking them to say to us? That's the key question
So
to me.
Well,
I have an opinion in the answer to that question, and I just also want to flag that David has his hand up.
Oh,
My opinion in answer to that question is we should ask people to phrase it in the positive. I think that's going to
Right.
help us keep the tone of the meeting more constructive. If it's not a place to air out a bunch of grievances, people can say, I prefer this one because I like this and I don't like that. I mean, it's fine. But instead of it being just sort of open mic to tell us what you like and what you don't like, what we want is to gather a sense of, from the interested public, which of these alternatives do you prefer for Brattleboro's form of town meeting?
so
there may be people that like Australian ballot.
Fine,
then they can say.
that's one of the choices.
Yeah.
I mean, they can speak to
I mean,
that.
that's why.
But that's what I'm saying, they
We
should.
can't just say, are you for or against open town?
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So express your preference to us. We'd like to know which of these alternatives you prefer and why.
Now, we'll get to David in just a sec, before I forget this one. At the last meeting, Patrick suggested that at the beginning of the meeting, we say, how many of you have an opinion of what you think? Remember? And then we were gonna have the discussion, and at the end, say, how many of you changed your mind? I mean, do we still wanna do that kind of thing?
Well, I don't recall this, but
Am I making that up? Didn't you say something like?
No, I think that was part of the discussion the following day when you and I met with Seth.
That's what.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
sounds
so
like
because
yeah.
I do
Yeah.
recall saying maybe we should have mics to be
Right.
this is the
Okay.
RTM mic, this is the OTM mic, to make sure we can balance.
No,
And I think-
no.
That was a light,
Yeah,
not what it
And we're gonna do the survey, so I don't think we should do
right,
that.
that's right, that's what we were talking
I
about.
think we want to gather information that night,
Yeah.
but I do think we want to gather it with as much positive energy as possible
agree.
and as little
Right, and
complaining as possible.
right, and I think the thing is, it's like how to, say to people, we're here to answer any questions you might have, and we'd love to hear, which form of annual town meeting
would
you prefer. You
Yeah.
prefer.
Mhm.
So and then, we can't say to somebody, oops, stop, you're not saying what we want. I mean, we're gonna have to
That's
hear
right.
things that we might not want. But then it's actually every once in a while reminding people of, we're here to answer your questions.
We're seeking preferences.
Yeah. So I think if we start with that, okay, we'll start with that. And then we'll go to David, and then we'll go. Can you talk, David, or do you have to?
I have to be unmuted. Oh, am I unmuted? I am. Okay, good. On the balance between presentation and citizens' comments, and in light of the fact that you're concerned that people think you are railroading them into one place or another, remember the EMS forum?
Oh, yeah, we don't want to do
Lots of
that.
So I would encourage you to keep that
Yes,
opening presentation as absolutely short as
yes,
possible.
absolutely
Totally.
right.
Yep,
Absolutely right.
Agreed.
Yeah, and we can also reference, there's information over
Yeah.
there, and if you get your phone out, you'll find information here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we
Totally.
have handouts.
yeah, well, that's where we're at the table. Patrick's gonna, this is a thing, you have this skirt thing that we can put on the table that has the town seal on it.
I've got a lovely skirt.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so we open it up that way.
I am in the ground rules, like, if there is some beyond like timekeeping, but if it's not, if somebody is talking about something that's not relevant
Yes.
to RTM, to form of government, RTM, OTM, if they're going about mayor,
Yeah.
it has to, I think there needs to be good moderation that says, thank you, that is not the scope of this conversation.
Right.
If you would like to come to another meeting,
Absolutely.
Here's
we
where we
will,
are.
we will make room in the agenda as we can.
Yeah, and that can be, may have to be repeated numerous times, but after everybody will
But
say it.
I
over
mean,
and over.
like, in a ground rule setting,
no, I
to say,
agree with
like,
Yes.
if it's not,
Yes,
we are narrowly focused tonight, please continue to come and engage us,
Yeah.
and we might redirect you if you are off topic.
yes,
Totally.
totally, and we may have to say it a couple times.
Yes.
When somebody
And I
says
think
something.
one other thought on that we could probably sort of like nip in the bud a little bit, the issue of like the grievances about the issues with RTM would be to say, if you prefer RTM, we would like to hear that. If you have suggestions for how to make it better, please email us or please come to a meeting.
Yes,
And
yes.
just start with that.
Right.
But tonight is just about,
The
getting
form
a
of
sense
government.
of the form of government. It's not about the actual procedure of the meeting.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Email us or come to our meetings. Yeah.
Well, we can even say that we will be discussing.
Absolutely. Once we gain the value of this input, we're going to be figuring out like where do we go next with
Yeah.
considering all of this, and there will be opportunity then to drill down into the specifics of the procedure.
And I think this is where the ground rules blend into the presentation, if you will,
Totally.
of, I do not know how big of a scope to sort of, is it like a kind of an FAQ? We started here, we open up, and now we've reached this part of the charter, and now we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And, if it's kind of like the FAQ is the outline for the 5-10 minutes
Yes.
of like order of, here we are, ground rules first, here we are, this is the information printed in your hand or available electronically.
Yeah.
And, and then we go.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, because I think
We don't try to create a whole nother thing. We've just spent a lot of energy
Right.
creating some good framing of these questions for people. Yeah.
So we start though with introducing ourselves,
Absolutely.
and
And you're going to moderate, Madam Chair?
I can do that.
Thank you.
We are. Then we'll set the ground rules, and then who wants to do the FAQ? I mean, do we want somebody else? Because Joy was talking about doing like, here we are, blah, 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 blah. Do you want that separate from?
I feel like it's the FAQ being the outline for the 10 minutes. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
not reciting everything in the FAQ,
Right.
but allowing it to be just to ground the we were organized because the charter says so. We've been working. We've now reached this part of the charter to talk about form of government. RTM is a big chunk of the charter, and here we are talking about RTM.
Now, do you want me to say that? My question is, do you want me to say that, or does somebody else on the thing want to say that? 'Cause
I was thinking It's one thing.
Okay.
Like, you hold the floor, you open the meeting, we introduce
Okay.
ourselves, then you hold the floor to talk
Uh-huh.
about how we're gonna have the meeting
Uh-huh.
and what we're gonna talk about it, and this FAQ thing.
Yeah. Just
You know, how you're gonna borrow from the FAQ to set the table
Yeah,
is, it feels to me like it's all part of the opening.
Okay, I just don't want to
They kind of
have all
morph
the first.
The ground rules and the summary of
Yeah.
the focus of tonight's
Yeah.
topic
Yeah.
feel to me like they're just sort of two parts of the
Yeah.
one.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just sort of who we are,
Yeah.
what we're doing,
Yeah.
why
Why
we're
we're
here tonight,
here.
and why we're not here.
right,
And then open it up to questions or
As
comments.
quickly as possible.
yeah,
And you can even throw to like, you have the printed material and it's all available
It's right
electronically.
Right.
yeah, okay. And then, you know, if people have questions, we can just look at each other and say, I'll answer that, because we don't know what
Sure.
the questions are gonna be.
That's right.
You know, and keeping it moving. Yeah. I think, I mean, we never know what's gonna happen, but if we have a good plan, we just have to, I mean, we have a whole bunch of unknown, we could have 100 unknowns. About to happen.
I guess my question, quick on introduction,
Yeah.
what would be ideal, do you think, for folks? You know, is it just our name
Yeah.
and our
Yeah.
role?
I think just our names.
Okay, just wanna make sure that we're not like district or
Uh-huh.
I'm on these other committees.
No, I think we just, and I thought, because I'm neurotic, I thought I'd make signs a little bit bigger than this so that people far away can at least see
Sure.
us. And it's very easy, I'm just gonna print something off and.
Sure.
That'd be great.
We should plan, I think, to cut off the discussion about 10 minutes
Oh, yeah.
before our end of time.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody can kind of summarize and thank people for coming.
I think thanking is a good idea. I think summarizing is dangerous. Inevitably, especially in a meeting this long and a crowd that big,
That's
that we
true.
hope it's going to be big. It's,
Yeah.
well, you didn't name my thing.
Yeah.
You weren't listening. But we'll have a record of the meeting, and we'll have some good lists. That,
Yeah, and
Come on.
remind folks where they can find a
Right, it's a
recording,
thanking
how to
everybody
get
for
in touch
coming
with
is important.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
and there's
Thank
much
you.
more to come.
yeah, stay with us.
Yeah.
Complete the survey.
you can mention
Yeah.
that we'll be issuing a survey.
I think we were gonna have a piece of paper for email addresses for
Oh, yeah.
future warnings,
Yes.
Yeah,
and then that would potentially be a way that we could target some surveys. To even say, if you leave us an email address, we will make sure you get the survey.
So I can do a sign-up sheet. So, Patrick, I'll do a sign-up sheet that maybe we can photocopy down here.
Sounds good.
Great.
We love sign-up sheets around here.
We do too.
They
Okay,
get attached to clipboards.
yes, it's gonna be a clipboard, it makes it official.
Sometimes there are pens on ropes.
Okay, so does anyone think of anything else? Snacks, yes.
Do we want to
Can't
talk
use the
about?
library. Not on the right.
No, but yeah, on the
On the
linoleum
edge.
part, we can have snacks.
Yeah.
Do we want to announce what our next meeting is?
Oh, yeah,
Definitely.
it'll be February 20-something.
It'll be, yeah, that's right, the 20th.
Yeah,
I thought we moved it.
Did we?
Yeah.
it's the
Next
27th.
meeting will be on the
27th.
6th.
Okay.
Well, that's this.
Yeah, February 27th. And then we can, say if you wanna know what's on the agenda, go to the website.
We will be issuing an agenda.
Great.
Okay.
February 27th, Charter Commission.
Well, now we are gonna have to, if anybody, the mics in the audience are handheld, so we're gonna need to run around with it, so if anybody knows
Oh.
somebody that might wanna be willing to run around with a mic.
Oh goodness.
We don't want to just have people line up.
Well, because it's the way, we have to set this thing up for BCTV, and if we have to have a row and all this stuff, I mean, maybe they can, do you know what they can do? Have you ever seen a Patrick do a stationary mic? Sometimes it makes people have to move around, it's like one person going to somebody as opposed to a whole bunch of people.
I'm
I
a
don't
pretty
know.
good mic runner, but be happy to run the mic.
I might be able to ask my spouse as well, but are we sure we can't do a
Well,
stationary? Especially if it's like in the center aisle?
the thing,
And then like have it be in the front and
But
back.
then people will have to
get
climb
up.
over people.
But
and
it's
get-
2 hours, they need to blood flow.
I don't know, because I've been to those things and it is much easier, I think, to hand a mic to
Yeah,
somebody.
it is.
Because if everybody wants to talk, no one's gonna be sitting down, it's gonna get all clogged. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd probably.
Yeah.
I can talk to my spouse.
Well, Patrick's
volunteers.
Patrick's
Well, then
volunteer,
maybe
but
we put it 2, right?
yeah, we can have more than one.
I guess I'm envisioning sort of 2 sections, right, with a center aisle, so like,
Yeah,
Usually that's how it's.
yeah.
Since we'll be the roadies, we can set it
That's
up.
right. We're gonna go put the chairs up. Okay.
And you'll let us know when to arrive.
Yeah, I'll find out
Do the
tomorrow.
setup.
I totally forgot to do it today, so then we can figure out. And it's basically just putting up the chairs, putting the
Sure.
table and the skirt, and then putting our things. Then at the end,
Breaking it down,
breaking
putting
them
it away.
down. It always goes faster to take down than it does put up. Okay.
thumbs up.
Yeah.
Stars,
Yeah.
Joy is smiling.
Well,
Okay.
I vote we adjourn.
Okay, Maya has moved to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
13.